What's up, monsters? Happy New Year, or should I say, Happy Almost New Year? You got me, Nikki Porter, back with you live for more hot conversations on HOT. That's heard on Thursdays, the show that made Philippine FM radio talk. May I also greet you guys, Namaskaram or Namaste. The light in me sees and acknowledges the light in you. This is the first of Heard on Thursday's traditional predictions episodes for the new year. We hold these episodes at the end of the year and at the beginning of the year when we invite diviners, oracle readers, and psychics to read the signs using their tools, and in tonight's case, the tarot deck, and their interpretations of them as to what to expect in the coming year. Right up front, I'm going to make this disclaimer. This is all in the spirit of fun, monsters. These are just opinions and interpretations of our guests, so don't take them too seriously. And don't let these predictions rule your lives. You are still the captain of your soul and the master of your fate. I'm sure our guest tonight will also agree. So for tonight, for Predictions 2022 Episode 1, we have invited back Reiki Master and Intuitive Tarot Reader Marky Mendoza. He is also a crystals devotee and a popular YouTuber. So Marky worked in financial institutions for about 15 years before discovering Reiki and deciding to make it a way of life. He studied divination through tarot reading and became a seasoned reader and teacher as well. He now counts celebrities among his students and his clients. Marky also found a deeper connection with the divine when he embraced Hinduism fully in 2019. Heard on Thursdays for Predictions Part 1, we welcome back Intuitive Tarot Reader Marky Mendoza. And we're also opening the Monster Hotline, or HOT line, at 8631-9393 for your questions so that you can get a free, quick consult from Marky. And that's happening in the second half of the show. So wait for my cue to call the Monster HOT landline at 8631-9393. Or even better, you can also post your questions on our streams on Facebook Live and on our YouTube channel and also on our twitch.tv/Monster RX931. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Reiki Master Marky Mendoza on Heard on Thursdays. Welcome, Marky!
Welcome, Namaskaram, everybody, and Namaskaram, Nikki. Thank you so much for having me here. Such a pleasure. Truly honored to participate in tonight's HOT.
I am so excited to actually have you on the show. I have never done any of the things that I'm about to ask you as well because, I've always been interested in tarot reading and divination, but only just like in passing because it was just something that a lot of people know about, but are maybe at times skeptical about or don't really think about it as much. So now I actually love that I have the opportunity to actually speak with a tarot reader and also a Reiki master. So before anything else, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want to know, though, ever since your last interview with JC and Heard on Thursdays as well, how have you been 2021 ever since, and how's it been treating you?
Wow. Well, I had the first opportunity to be guesting here in Heard on Thursdays back in June of this year. And after that, it was pretty busy. Pretty huge help because of the opportunity that I've had here in Heard on Thursdays. Pretty busy in terms of workshops. I've been very busy with my YouTube channel as well. And at the same time, every weekends, really the focus is really the workshops. Anything and everything that I share online, this is something that I teach to my students as well. Pretty much, I'm looking forward for a busier 2022, but I can never complain. I've prayed so hard for the blessings. That's why I'm just really grateful.
Right. And also, well, aside from, your the side of like divination and tarot reading and more busier work schedule for you next year, what have you been up to that's like not in relation to it? Like what's your latest binge watch? What is there any hobbies that you picked up? Yeah, so like what have you been keeping yourself busy with when it's not work related?
Wow. You know what? Honestly, that's a very interesting question because I'm so happy you mentioned that because majority of my life, how my life reflects, not recently, not just recently, but ever since I focused on spirituality fully, majority of my activities would focus on spirituality, meditation, Reiki, self-healing, teaching, focusing on mindfulness exercises.
Mhm.
But in the little time that I have, of course, I'm still human. I love binge watching. I love anime. Recently, of course, I've been into rewatching the Matrix series before we have the
Ooh.
yeah. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. So I've been binge watching just to be sure that I do the recap and to pick up where I left off, so that when we start getting the resurrection, it will be
Mhm.
exciting. I'm looking forward to that. A lot of things that I've been doing recently is really focusing on my cat. I recently
Oh,
yeah, I
cute.
used to be a dog person. I used to be a dog person, but honestly, because of a very good friend of mine, Janelle Mercado and Dennis Trillo, they introduced me. They introduced me with the amazing world of cats, and now I'm a fur dad myself. I have a Carillion bobtail.
Ooh,
I'm
that's so
so in love with
cute.
him. I know. Other than that, meditation, Reiki.
How is your cat dealing with you, like when you're meditating, when you're doing consults? Is he calm? He or she calm, or they like to interrupt?
I'm happy you mentioned that because just a little disclaimer, just in case that my cat will jump
No
in the
problem.
screen. Oh my gosh, it happens several times in my YouTube and my live sessions because if there's one thing that I've discovered with cats, actually not
Mhm,
just cats, but in animals in general, every time that you also focus on meditation, you read tarot, or basically when you focus on energy, they
mhm.
become very attracted to it. So I always find
Oh.
myself every time that I'm doing my meditation, I would feel him near me. Either he's gonna jump in, or somehow you'd feel him around you, and then that's
Mm-mm.
one good thing because they resonate with the good energy. I've
Yeah.
had several client sessions as well. I'm doing tarot reading, and most of my sessions are still online. And you'll be surprised, he would always jump in, literally jump in the cards that I have. But I find it cute. But at the same time, I was like, Anak, we're doing business here. I'm doing this for your cat food. So,
I love it. Anak talaga ang tawag.
yes,
Well,
I'm,
it's really the
I'm
struggle of a
really,
fur parent.
yeah, and I'm really embodying the fur parent in me.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Well, I absolutely don't mind. What's the name of your cat, by the way? If in case
Um,
he or she pops in.
if he jumps in, yeah.
Yeah,
His
yeah,
name
yeah.
is Kala. Kala.
Kala. Kala, all right.
Yes.
Kala, we're manifesting you in this video. Okay, I'm just kidding.
Oh gosh, he may hear it.
Well, anyway, so wow, enough about your cat. Your cat will probably sense the energy later on as well and will want to make a cameo. I just want to know. So, tarot card reading, Reiki, practicing Reiki. Why? How did you get into this field? I understand that you were working in financial institutions for 15 years. So I want to know, like, was there a turning point in your life and you were like working in your finance job and it was just like, you know what, this isn't it for me? And then was there a turning point that actually made you realize that, I want to try something else? So how was that like for you?
At first, I always tell myself before, like everything that happened to me, it was initially what I thought was an accident. Like I never expected it. It was never part of my plan. Like I never in my younger years, I never expected, oh, someday I'm gonna be spiritual. Never in my wildest dreams, honestly, that I've dreamt, even fathomed of becoming a spiritual person. So initially when I met my teacher in 2016, and fairly just because there's one day I was not doing anything, I had extra money to attend a class and a workshop, and I was there skeptic. Honestly, I was skeptic trying to prove something, trying to prove that these things after the class may come out, something factual, something that's real, can be rational, or you know how it is. Maybe it's not real. But
Mm-hmm.
it really ended up changing my life forever. And it was honestly a fair 2 years of push and pull for me because I've met my teacher and I was still in a financial institution that time.
Mm-mm.
And my discovery into spirituality, I was feeling the push and pull because I am trying to become very mindful and spiritual, but the environment does not it's not really well suited for that. And that's
Right.
where the challenge really happens. And through it all, my realization is that the place doesn't resonate anymore. And primarily, that's one of the reasons why eventually I found my funny story is just because it doesn't resonate anymore, I got fired from my job. I got fired.
Okay,
I got
got it.
fired. But I thought it was something that primarily it doesn't sound really okay. Primarily, like a tooth extraction without anesthesia. That's how literally it felt during that time because pride and ego are starting to kick in. And honestly, it
Right.
wasn't such a great feeling. However, I turned that opportunity into something deeper. I used it as an opportunity for me to discover something within me. And that something was one of the best decisions I've made in my life. And so continuously, I'm trusting. No matter what we initially think is somehow we feel like it's a coincidence or somehow we feel like is a miracle that suddenly happened in our life. Especially for 2022, the key is openness. The key is
Mhm.
openness. So
Right.
there are many opportunities for changes. And the
Yeah.
goal is to adapt and to adapt fully.
Yeah.
Being open will definitely save us for 2022.
Yeah. And it's a good thing they actually brought up the whole when you got fired from the job, you turned it into an opportunity so that you can dig deeper into yourself as well. Because when I was actually watching a little bits of your YouTube videos, that was what you were actually trying to explain, especially when it came to communicating with other people. Instead of like having a heated argument, like take a minute to yourself so that you can change it into an opportunity where love can flow instead, so that there won't be any bad blood between two people. But I mean, that's in the sense of like relationships and communication, but I think in a general perspective, that's also what you're trying to apply in that situation early on, before you even like started becoming a Reiki master and a tarot reader. So it's always been in you, I feel, like that kind of that skill or that realization. So that's actually really cool. You were on the right path without you even knowing it.
And initially, I just didn't realize it's happening. But eventually,
Mhm.
you'll realize many things. And all it took for me is to accept that there is really something out there for me. And now I always say this: it really doesn't matter what your own goals, dreams, and aspirations are, because at the end of the day, no matter what our goals, dreams, and aspirations are, it's always about what's God's plans,
Mhm.
the bigger plan. And that it's also inevitable because one way or another, what is meant for us shall always come to the path of least resistance. So
That's true.
in Tagalog, what we always say, kung para sa'yo, and it shall be given and rewarded in God's perfect divine timing.
Yeah, that is so true. For all of the monsters who are tuned in, whether on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, or even on air, you are tuned in to Heard on Thursdays with me, Nikki, and my guest for tonight, Reiki Master and Tarot Reader, Marky Mendoza. Such a pleasure to have you here and talk more about divination. Why not? So, tarot card reading. When you first got into it, or like when you first had your deck of cards, what was it like? Like, is there an energy that you feel, or is that like something that's kind of metaphorical? Tell us, like, okay, the first time you actually had to try and
Mhm.
interpret the cards, what was that like for you?
Well, first of all, there are two approaches in learning tarot reading. You can go the traditional way, and in the traditional way will require you to memorize all 78 cards because there are
Oh
78
wow.
cards in one tarot deck, and you'll be surprised. You know that the bicycle cards that we use for playing cards, it's
Right.
actually part of the tarot deck. It is part of
What?
it. So yeah, there are two types of decks that you will encounter in the tarot decks. There's a major cards and the minor cards. What we have in the bicycle cards are the representations of the minor cards. And there's only
Mm,
one major card in the bicycle cards, but we don't even use it. It's the
the
Joker.
Joker?
And that's
Oh.
yeah. And that is actually the very first major card because the tarot cards is a representation of our life cycles. The major cards are representations of major turning points of our lives. The beginning, any form of beginning, maybe career, love, business ventures, what have you. And one or another, one major turning point in our life will represent love. We will find love. We'll get to feel love and be loved. major
Mhm.
turning point about learning, being a teacher, and etc. etc. Now, the minor cards, these are the minute details of our life wherein we do the hard work until it manifests into something major. It's always a reflection of that. Now, if you really study the tarot cards, you can basically just memorize all of the 78 cards. But that's the
Mm.
traditional way. How I learned it is through intuition. That's why I'd always, when I teach this as well, I emphasize that my approach is the intuitive side of things. It's not limiting you with just the manual or the traditional ways of learning it.
Right.
It's always open for deeper interpretation through symbolism, through digging deeper through the energy itself. More of when you get to see something, just like how you're interpreting a work of art, a masterpiece, it
Yeah.
has to, on an emotional level, it has to something that call out, or there must be a deeper message every time that you see or interpret a masterpiece. So
Mhm.
therefore, this is really subject for our own interpretation, depending on what we energetically perceive and what are the own personal experiences that we also go through. Those are some of the factors that will affect our symbolism. So in short, that's the fair reason why it's also a little bit tricky when you go the intuitive approach, just because again it's always subject for our own perspective. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
the most important thing is for the reader to be very balanced. That's the key.
In terms of balance, like what do you mean? Like emotionally or just how to have like that unbiased mindset?
Like if there are always two sides of the coin, to have a very balanced opinion about reading or interpreting the cards is always to see not just the good and the bad, but options. If you do this, if you choose this option, these are the possibilities. Should you choose this option, these are the certain possibilities. It does not
Mm.
limit you that there's only one choice. There's only one. It's just like what you mentioned in our early disclaimer. This is
Mhm.
always subjected by our own free will. At the end of the
Right.
day, the tarot cards will present you possibilities. Possibilities in which, in return, whatever choice you make will always present a different possibility or an outcome. So, in the end, the goal of the tarot reading is always to provide you with the necessary tool for you to discern. In the
Mhm.
end, it's how you will discern in the end. That no, and there's no judgment, honestly. Even if I do my personal reading sessions, it's always about the accountability. That my role as a reader is to present you with all the options, anything and everything that you should know, every move, every decision, and every plan, so that in the end, when you're about to make a decision, it's always going to be a very discerned. It's like one of your soundest decisions. That's really my goal. And every time, no matter which life aspect, love life or health or career, it's always about letting the clients know that there is not just one idea or one resolution. There are always other ways of looking at things. And that is
Mhm.
how you can be in the middle, or your direction will always be, at least no matter what the decision will be, the accountability will be always towards the reader, on the client's end.
Ah, I see. So I like how you always mention like, like how to like interpreting tarot cards for, for love life, etc. So is it safe to assume that like that is one of the number one things that people ask you about?
Top two will always be about number one, either love or career. But
Mm.
if I were to be very honest, just for this year alone, majority of the questions, yes, it's still the top two, but majority of the main focus of my clients for this year
Mhm.
mostly are career,
Mm.
because economically speaking, due to the pandemic situation, there has been many twists and turns,
True, true.
economically speaking. And one of the top priorities of my clients, especially for this year, is to make sure that it's how to become very resilient, no matter which situation will unfold for us.
Right.
May it be on a holistic sense, globally, the economic situation, or of course individually, we have our own lessons to learn. The
Mhm.
goal is to always realize what options are there for me to become resilient and what I can do to keep adapting. And still, of course, second hot topic would usually be the love. Like, just to give you a little background, I took another client earlier this morning, and
Mhm.
for my last reading for the no, actually, I have another reading tomorrow. But for earlier today, it's about love life. So, but for me, generally looking at it, anything and everything that we experience, most especially in the last 2 years, basically shaped our decision making. One way or
Yeah.
another, our experiences. majority of that contributed because of our last experiences the last 2 years. And so because of the 2 year experience, most especially with the pandemic situation, it's really allowing us to adapt even more, to really accept that change is inevitable, but at the same time, it's really how we become resilient and
True.
adapt fully, embracing it fully without any bias as well. And
Yeah.
I myself, and just to tell you honestly, I may be doing this majority for other people, for clients, but I also do the same thing for myself. Periodically and annually, I also do my own readings for myself, because if I provide the guidance for everybody, and I can only do that if the same balance that I provide for my clients will be the same balance I will also provide for my own reading and for my own self, because I may be guiding others, but I should be a reflection of that same energy as well. So I
Yeah.
should be an equal representation of balance. And um, when people go to me, I really want to make sure that I'm a place of no bias as well. And if that's the priority for myself as well, I do the same thing. I'm not scared to really see if there are things that I should be warned about, or if there are certain blessings that I should be mindful about. It's really
Mhm.
about how I'm going to be open, no matter what's in front of me, no matter how life will unfold. It's about how I will see it as a very good opportunity of learning. And so,
Right. Yeah.
just similarly, I'm reminded how 2020 for everybody, I mean 2022 for everybody, the openness, how we adapt, just like how water, because majority of the um in 2022, the one of the major things that we should be mindful about is the planet Jupiter. Planet Jupiter is the planet of the gurus. In Hinduism,
Mhm.
planet Jupiter is a representation of the guru of the gods. That means it's a very strong energy of wisdom. And from the word Sanskrit itself, guru, it's actually two syllables put together to produce a word. From the syllable gu means remover, and ru, darkness. So gurus are removers of darkness.
Oh.
But how darkness is removed is through wisdom. Form of darkness can be a form of confusion, darkness in the form of doubt and fear. That once wisdom is given and once wisdom is accepted, just like how it is when you initially look at it this way, if you're looking at an obstacle course, and of course instantly these are the things that you need to process, but with wisdom, when we are equipped with wisdom, obstacles will cease to become an obstacle because you have wisdom to go through it. And
Right.
so that's the job of the guru, to remove the darkness from all of the students by providing the wisdom. And this is a strong message for this year, because Jupiter will be falling on the sign of Pisces, which is also under the planet ruling planet of Jupiter. That means Pisces is a water sign. Adapting to change is one. So that means for 2022, should we have any opportunities, like if internally we're starting to feel the push and pull, we're
Right.
starting to feel like the last 2 years where if we start embracing or we feel a little bitter about the word new normal, or when we talk about um, how the word pre-pandemic is always what
Mm-mm.
we cling
Mm-mm.
into. Should we further cling into that idea, it will prolong our frustrations even more, which will
Yeah.
also hinder growth and development to happen. But that's the key for us to adapt. 2022 is all about embracing change, and also it's allowing to learn something new, unlearn some things that may have worked before but not necessarily in our
Mhm.
now, and to relearn many things. It's always about we're able to adapt to any situation.
All
Once we
right.
do, we're going to be more than resilient. More blessings
Yeah.
shall unfold for this year.
And we hope so. We hope that will happen in 2022, definitely. So, once again, with monsters who are just joining us, I am with Marky Mendoza, who is an intuitive tarot card reader and also a Reiki master. And you're on Heard on Thursdays. So, since he is an intuitive tarot card reader, we thought, you know what, why not? Let's do some little samplings. And I will open the monster hotline as well at 86319393 so that you guys can possibly, if you have a question, you can think about your question right now before actually calling so that Marky can later on set the intent and then read the tarot for you. But for now, let's do something that's in general. So, in terms of next year, Marky, and I'm so excited for this. I'm excited because like I want to do something general and I want to ask some questions about myself too. So later na lang.
I'd love to read your energy, of course.
Oh my gosh, here we go. Okay, I'm getting too excited to calm down. All right, so in consultation with the tarot, what do you think is in store for us in the new year in terms of first and foremost economy?
Oh gosh, for the economy, actually, even without drawing the cards, the
Mm,
energy, astrologically speaking, when we talk about the economy, it's always about same. When I mentioned about adapting, primarily when we talk about the economy, it's always about letting go of unnecessary energies. Letting go
mm,
of unnecessary energies to give way for something new. So, still adapting is really one of the best things that we will see. But also, there will be some push and pulls in decisions, most especially that if there is also one good warning, not just for in particular the huge companies out there, but for everybody in general, planet Jupiter will be in retrograde starting from April up to June of 29th. And that means major investments, major decisions, or anything that would require you shelling out a lot of money. This is something that you need to hold on to for, I mean, hold off for a bit. Wait until June 29 is done because any decisions that will be done in between April and the 29th of June may not necessarily yield the best results. Most especially, the goal of this year, anything economically speaking, what will truly be resonating is anything that we are truly passionate about. Anything that the best investments or the best investments that you can get for yourself right now, individually and holistically, is anything that resonates who you truly are as a person, what your energy is about, what you're passionate about. Because we have a lot of tendencies to let go of if the intention um, is circling around the energy of vanity or greed. Those will never work, especially in the times of April up to the 29th of June. So after that, you may go ahead with your investments, most especially if this is something that's already pre-planned. This is really something that, let's say you've already uh, created this mindset, you're going to make this investment, you're going to do this commitment. Just make sure that either you do it before or you do it after the 29th of June. And
mm.
economically speaking, I'm telling you, there are several, not just locally, but globally. The energy of our economy is starting to pick up, but it will be a slow progress, but progress is progress. Similarly, just like a blessing is a blessing, it will be like surely but slowly but surely kind of effect, but definitely it's going to yield blessings, most especially when we start the month of August of this year.
All right. Okay. So it's just about for the when it comes to economy and I guess with the self in terms of investments, we have to invest in ourselves, I guess, in our passions. That's what you're trying to say. All right. That's for everybody who is just a little bit confused of what they're gonna do next year. And the next thing that we're gonna try and ask for right now, what would be in store for us next year in terms of let's go with I guess let's go with like travel because we've experienced a little bit of it this
Mm-hmm.
year. But then now, there are some cases that are seemingly rising again. And so we want to know where's the possibility of travel here? How long do we have to wait again, if ever?
My say, it's a little bit. You know what? I really feel bad saying this as well, but it's still a little unsteady. It's still a little unsteady. So, my advice for you, if there are some long plan trips, maybe you've booked a ticket from last year, the date is set, just do expect that there may be possible changes. And these changes may entail a lot of delays. And when we talk about delays, so when let's say booking a ticket for travel, may it be local or international. So do expect several challenges and rebookings and then some delays. And in short, it will be quite a little bit of a headache when we talk about travel for this year. It's really unsteady. But
Mhm.
towards September, it will definitely
September.
improve. The first 9 months will be a little shaky, most especially. But when we come September, the burn months or the holidays again, it will be so much better. At least it will allow us as well to save more money so that it will be grand
That's
when we go
true.
our vacation.
That is true. And then go all out in one single trip.
Go all out.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, let's think about another subject that we would like to ask about. In terms of, is it possible that we can sort of know what could be in store for in terms of trends? Now, this is kind of generic, but
Mhm.
do you have an idea on how to interpret this as well?
Uh, you know what? The for this year, when it comes to trend, it's really about being a free spirit. It's always about self-expression and creative expression. This is what this year is about, and it's really about being very expressive with no bounds, with no limits. And so, don't be surprised if everything can seem a little loud. It's literally the extremes, either too loud or too soft. It's really like that. But at the
Mhm.
same time, individuality and authenticity, this is really what we're going to experience for 2022, which is really good because, in nowadays we are very keen when it comes to honoring authenticity. So this is really the
Yeah,
right moment.
that's
So
true.
diversity and authenticity is really for 2022.
All right. So, in terms of businesses that might be challenged in the next year, is there any?
Mhm.
Do you have any hints on what certain businesses could be challenged next year?
Yeah. Let's start first with the good news. Anything and everything about technology, IT, these are the booming business. And I'm telling you, this is really something that if you're also thinking about investments, you're thinking about something that will long term, definitely tech is the best investment for this year.
Mhm.
Now, on the a little obvious perspective, financial institutions, one of the most challenging things to encounter, most especially in 2022. And it's starting to unfold, and I believe we are recently been, there's an ongoing issue about local financial institutions.
Mm.
And it's really in the surface, it's really just the tip of the iceberg. This is really something that will be more mindful for 2020. So in those, as you can see, these are two major things. But anything as well about this year, the focus is really still passion. It's really veering away with anything that resonates so much greed and so much vanity. So that, as you
Okay.
can see, it's really about literally the creative expression, authenticity, and diversity,
Mhm.
setting aside anything that doesn't resonate you as a person. So
Right.
it's really about your pure intentions, your authenticity as well.
All right. Keep it authentic next year. So now I want to ask about. Well, as you all know, next year is election year. So treading carefully over here. What do you think would be in store for us in terms of politics next year?
Now, as much as possible, and again, as a guru myself, my goal is to always be the opportunity of balance. So
Mhm.
as much as possible, again, we will not go very specific on this. It will still
True.
be very
Yes, we don't
general,
have.
but basing on the astrological events for 2022, we're in, the election day is gonna fall on the Jupiter's retrograde. So when we talk about planets going on retrograde, every planet will always have their energetic qualities. When we talk about Jupiter, it's about the guru. Anything of kindness, of wisdom, of love, that's the energy. And being generous, that's the energy of Jupiter. So that
Mhm.
going on retrograde, it can be of the opposite. So
Mm.
if there's one thing about the election, local election, this is really going to shock. The results will be very shocking. The results will be very shocking. It may not be the popular expectation of everybody. And I am also seeing some mass protests. That's gonna happen.
All right. All right. So I mean, again, the popularity here can also be a little bit subjective as well. So yes, like I said, treading carefully over here. Now, in terms of if you actually go by these, in terms of lucky signs or numbers or colors, I know that next year we have very Perry as the color of the year, but in terms of lucky signs or numbers, or even yeah, actually, like let's go with lucky signs. Like who will be lucky in 2022? My fingers are crossed.
Well, honestly, when we talk about, let's talk about the lucky color. The lucky color mostly, I know, even if the I believe it's periwinkle would be
Yeah,
it for
very Perry.
Pantones,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
Perry. But when we talk about energetically and astrologically, and sometimes when people ask you, you think of how can the stars and the planets will have that effect towards us. One good question. Well, it just like thinking about how the moon has this direct effect for the tide.
Hmm.
All of the planets and the stars, they also have that gravitational effect towards us.
Yeah.
And so because of that, since planet Jupiter has the greatest contribute energetic contribution for this year, yellow is really one of the
Yellow.
strongest color for this year. So that
Okay.
means if you're in a meeting, if you're really willing to have a favorable result, wearing yellow will be most favorable for you. And so in
Mm.
important meetings, or if you want to close a deal, it must be a good energy when you wear yellow, because it's the energy of being grand, generous, the guru, Jupiter. Um, Numbers, lucky number, anything, anything with the numbers 2 and 11, or 2 or 1 and 2 or 11 or 1, these are very lucky as well. And but
Okay.
because
Okay.
this is really these numbers are auspicious, just because 11 in Hinduism is a very auspicious number. It's a number of manifestation, and number 2 is a very good number of unions and contracts. And so
Oh.
this year is really about, one, discovering your authenticity as a person and really being open, staying open. And at the same time, this is really a perfect opportunity for investments. But just wait for the right timing. Again, just don't make these investments between April to June 29th.
Yeah.
Other than that, in outside of those dates, you're free to sign contracts, have agreements, but most especially if just the lucky numbers, 2 and 11 or 1. Very lucky.
All right. 1 and 2 or 11 are your lucky numbers. So things to remember, guys. Are you taking notes? Because I am. Let's go. Okay. So while we're waiting for some monsters who might have some questions, I am opening the hotline at 86319393. If you have a question about your life, you want to make a general question, inquiry about it, go ahead and hit us up as well. And then I can connect you to the show so that Marky can actually give you a consult. So while we're waiting, Marky, time to get personal. With me. With me.
I'm ready for you.
All right. Well, surprise. I'm actually your client for tomorrow. And I'm just kidding. No, I let's go with one of your top two topics that people ask
Okay, so
about.
let me ask you this. For 2022, Nikki, what do you feel is the focus when it comes to manifestation? What is your priority?
My gosh, now the tables have turned. Okay, so next year I do, if anything, like focusing on the things that I want and I want to do and not being afraid to actually go for it. So yeah, so I mean, like on my other show, Good Vibes, we always say like shoot your shot. So it's like I gotta take more shots next year because literally 2 years have gone by. Life has been on pause. So what else have you really got to lose next year, right? So yes, that is what I'm trying to emanate for next year is to have to just like go for it. Just go for it. So that is what I want to do. Yes.
So go for love or career?
Let's go for sige na nga, love na nga. I'm not pressured, monsters, but yes. Out of curiosity,
Let's
again, this is just an interpretation anyway, so this is for good fun as well. So let's go for it.
Yeah, okay. You know what? I'll give you 3 cards, because when we get 3 cards for you, you will have an idea what your past energy is about, what your current energy is, and where
Oh,
it's headed to. Now,
oh
again, just
my.
like my disclaimer earlier, this is actually based on your current energy. So current thoughts, feelings, emotions, and your decisions and how you take action. This is where the
Oh
energy
no.
lies. Now, oh, you know what? If there's one thing that I know right now, just because you mentioned that these 2 years are really challenging. I know it's really the challenge is how to connect, to how to not just connect physical on a physical sense, but to really find someone, whether online, offline, or in person. You can
Mhm.
easily connect effortlessly. and finding that connection may be of a challenge, and that's what the first card is telling me, because every time this is the card for you, this is the wands. Now when we get
Mm.
seven of wands, or every time we get wands, it's always about hard work and effort, but it's really resonating in the type of connection that we have, or at least
Mm.
wanting to really establish. Now the next card is where the actions are light. Okay, if there's one good thing to be mindful about, anything that we want to manifest, I'll give you an idea how to manifest as well. Anything and everything in life, when we talk about manifestation, the first goal is to understand what's the energy that I want to manifest. Now, you know,
Mhm.
remember, in the Christian or the Catholic faith, we call it the golden rule, or for us Hindus, we call it law of karma. Science calls it Newton's third law of motion. In every action,
Yeah.
there's always equal or an equal action reaction. So that
Mhm.
means what energy you put out, that's the same energy, like a boomerang, shall find its way back to you. That means,
Oh.
yeah, that's how the universe works. Talk about law of attraction. It's the same. It's the same. You have to
Yeah,
understand how the
that's
universe
true. That
works.
is true.
Now, talking about the actions, the energy of what your energy is, current energy is leading you. It gave me three of coins. And when we talk about coins, it talks about it talks about business, career, money. So if we are looking about manifesting love and we are wanting to manifest it, that should be our clue as well. If we want to manifest love, the energy we should put out that will create a boomerang effect is also always about love. Right now, I'm happy that you first asked about one brave step is to really acknowledge it's love this time. But you know what? Currently, the energy is about career. Like,
Mm-mm.
look at it this
Okay.
way. Like, when you wake up, majority of your time, your 24 hours, majority of the time will always be about career. Now, how much time and the quality of energy and time that you allot for the energy of love? That's
Right.
one good realization. Now, if this is really going to be the
Mm.
focus, I'll tell you, because the major card was given to you
Ooh.
on your last card, which is very promising, and this is the Chariot. You know what? This is a very, I love this card because this is a card that talks about progress, mobility. But in a modern time, this is a representation of a car, or vehicle. Now, first of all, not everybody has a car, so that means you have the means. You have the means, you have the energy for you to find it. It's just a matter of, do you want to move forward, then step on the gas. If you see,
Mm.
like, maybe you're in the middle of an intersection of a stoplight, then hit on the brakes, it'll pause for a bit. Or maybe you forgot something at home, you want to turn, hit on reverse, and you have the means to move forward, to push for this. But again, it has to be coming from your own intention. And what is the intention? It all boils down to what the intention is. If the intention is to really find love, not just to find love, to manifest it, because
Mhm.
you are the love energy that attracts the same energy as well. So mindfulness is key. I'm not saying to not focus on the career, because I mean we need to have means to survive as well. But
Right.
it's really the
Mhm.
mindfulness. It's not really the amount. If we're thinking maybe the energy that, for us to equate the energy of love, and because majority of the energy is really about career, it doesn't mean that you have to dedicate again 9 or 8 hours additional on top of what the career is about. We only have 24 hours in a day, so that means
Mhm.
it does not mean quantity over quality. It's the quality, effort, and the time that we also provide, so that we can activate the energy of love. So that means any time of the day, think of love, process love. Dating apps, find the
Oh,
opportunity
no.
to entertain. Okay,
Oh my
that's
gosh.
one
All
good
right.
thing. That's one good thing. That will
Okay.
activate the opportunity of love. So if you want to move forward, progress, step on the gas, you'll be there.
All right.
But the
Stepping on
mindfulness
the
has to
gas for
happen
love.
first.
Get
Yeah.
it. Okay. All right. So I will think about love more often. Sometimes, maybe on my show, you guys, you might see me spacing out. That's just me thinking about love. I'm just kidding. Because Marky Mendoza told me to.
And this is what I always say. I mean, I'm not sure if it's just me, if it's only just me, but I always find myself daydreaming about, if I'm gonna win the lottery, I'm gonna do this, gonna do that,
Mm.
buy this, buy that. I always daydream. I'm telling you, I always daydream. And what a good way to daydream about winning the lottery. But the thing is, these are good, wild thoughts. But
Yeah.
I I don't bet on the lottery. So I mean, how will
Yeah.
you win if you're not
Yeah.
even betting in the
That
first
makes
place?
sense.
You have to bet on it,
Bet
honestly.
on it. That's my hashtag for
Mhm.
tonight.
Mm-hmm. Bet on it and manifest it.
All right. Okay. So, Marky, actually, I do have a question from Alexa over here. For
Okay.
all the monsters tuned in, it is heard on Thursdays with me, Nikki, and you got intuitive tarot card reader rather, Marky Mendoza, who's also a Reiki master. So, Alexa actually asked, and it's a very good question. What what can they expect? What can students expect in terms of their education next year? In terms of face-to-face classes or still online classes? I guess there's a lot of uncertainty going there, and a lot of like I've spoken to a lot of students as well. They're having a hard time still having, and now having to adapt to the possibility of face-to-face classes. So, what can they expect for next year?
There is really an important announcement come June of this year in terms of education, and this is really going to challenge the norms. Now, I'm telling you, even this is not 100% going to be very popular. This is going to be on a trial basis, only to prove something, and eventually it will revert. It will revert to the original pandemic plan. So, on our students' perspective, I know this is really one of the biggest challenge because we are still young
Yeah.
and we're in the process of learning. But look at it this way: every opportunity that you're learning here, not just you guys, but even the oh my gosh, us adults, us adults, it's
True.
really about how we're going to adapt because this is really something that we can find useful in the future, not just in our career, but in our personal life. How we go through our personal life challenges and to rising above each one of them with no bias, with no judgment. Again, focusing on adapting. Because if there's one good reminder to everybody, it's always about how we find opportunities to adapt. Like
Mhm.
water, because of the sign Pisces, it's a water sign. Anything, just like how any form of container, the goal of water is to just keep adapting. If we are unable to adapt fully, this will create more frustration. So that will be a more challenging jumpstart come 2023. But
Mhm.
it will be the other way around. The more we find just a little courage to really step forward and to really adapt, because you'll never know how far you can go, not until you try. So
Yeah.
this really gives way to many discoveries for 2022.
All right. Okay. For the students who are tuned in, hold on to your hats for next year. That's as general as we can give you. But also, so we've done a lot of talking about tarot card reading, and I've had a lot of fun talking about it as well. But I also want to know in terms of Reiki. So you're a Reiki master, and I feel like this is a different approach from tarot card reading because this is about like energy and you having the person who, and you're just laying not laying your hands on them, but sort of just gliding over them, and something about healing and energy. So for someone who does not understand what Reiki is, how would you explain it to them?
Very good. Now, when we talk about Reiki, may sound a little alien just because it's a foreign language. It's really coming from the Japanese tradition.
Hmm.
Rei, meaning universal, Ki or Chi. In other belief systems in the Chinese tradition, they call it Qi. It's called energy or life force. Or when you put it together, it's the universal energy. Now, usually, it's in the air that we breathe. It is mostly in anything and everything, but it's in mostly in the air that we breathe. Similarly, every time we breathe, we are alive because we breathe in air, we breathe in the oxygen. And so every time that, since this is the life-giving force to both living and non-living things, every time that we inhale, every time that we breathe in air, essentially become alive. But only for Reiki practitioners, once you are attuned to Reiki, we may feel that we are only breathing air, but we are actually breathing in exponential amount of energy which is flowing inside of our body, which can turn into something more positive, even more, because that collective energy is a strong, warm, loving energy that will be produced by your hands. And this can produce energies of healing, love, abundance, prosperity. But this is basically any form of good energy because that is what Reiki is about. It is one of the strongest form of love energies. It will only work with good intentions. It will only work with positive intentions. Or think of any positive word. That's the only energy that Reiki will resonate with. Anything of the opposite, Reiki will never respond to it because anything that is opposite of love is something that Reiki does not resonate to. It's always
Mm.
about think of love. anything basically on the perspective of love, positive energies, those are the energies that we can easily manifest. In fact, if you want, I've done this last time. I can share you because there are levels of Reiki wherein there are times that you, if you're going to administer Reiki towards someone else, you
Mm-hmm.
will have to have them physically with you. But when you
Yeah.
progress in Reiki, there is a term we call distance healing. You can send healing from a distance, and it does not, it breaks the barrier of time and space just because the idea, look at it this way, our whole planet has air everywhere. So, in short, just
Mm-hmm.
like how Wi Fi, you can easily connect to that system anywhere
Mm-hmm.
around the world, it also has air, which is everywhere. When you send healing from a distance, it does not know any time and space, no boundaries, real time. You can send in that energy. And you know what? You're in Ortigas right now, and I'm currently in Mandaluyong. And when we do distance healing, it is something that you will receive real time. You want to try that?
Okay, you know what? It's like 2 days before the new year. Like I am so game. I told myself like I would be down. Like I'm not. It's not like I'm like. It's not. It's. I don't think it's scary. I don't think it's scary. But you know what? The monsters. If you guys are tuned in, it's heard on Thursdays. I'm about to do like distance healing Reiki with Marky Mendoza. So I want to see how it works as well. So if you guys are
Okay.
interested, just
Mm-hmm.
stay tuned or watch on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. All right, let's go. What do I do? What do I do?
Okay. So there are people who will be very sensitive to energy as well. So they can feel any form of energy, good or bad. But there are
Hmm.
people who are not equally very receptive to energy. But there is
Yeah.
a way on a physical sense that we can see that. So I want you to get your wrists like this. And then in our wrists, there are always lines under our wrists. Now, the first step
Mhm.
is to find which is the most prominent line in every wrist. So
Okay. Okay.
determine on both wrists which one is the thickest primarily, the thickest or the most prominent.
Mm.
And once you've determined which ones are the most prominent, next step is to connect it side by side like this.
Okay.
And when you connect it perfectly, it should create one straight line.
Mm-hmm.
And once you're done with that, the next step is to align it sideways like this.
Align it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hold on.
Now I see that there is a huge line in the middle of our palm. I see that unaligned as well. Do you see that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now every time, and you can check your pinkies as well. You can start from scratch and check your pinkies as well. There's a slight difference when it comes to the pinkies.
Oh, wait. So I have to start from the wrist and then move up to the
Yeah,
palm and then up to the pinky. Okay. How do? Okay.
correct, correct. And
All right.
the first thing that you will see, of course, the line in between your palms. It's a
Mhm.
little no, not aligned a little. Then check the
Yeah, it's
pinkies.
not.
One is a little higher than the other.
Yeah.
So every time that happens, that's a sign that there is unnecessary energy in your body. And if oh, that's the reason why you have a lower back pain.
What? I thought that was just adulting.
Energies don't
Oh,
lie.
it's true.
And as an energy healer, that's one of the things that I always see. Now, so that's the first thing. So I'm gonna have to remove that because if we don't remove that, it
Mm.
has a tendency to evolve into an illness. And that's why sometimes you feel like your throat, my throat. Sometimes that's
Hmm.
gonna be the first thing
Yeah.
that you'd realize because your throat is primarily what you always utilize in an everyday.
Hmm.
So that's the first thing, either lower back and then your throat. But let me send you healing right now, okay?
Okay.
Okay, let's do it again. Let's start from scratch. The goal is to have everything aligned. Do it again.
Okay. All right. I got this. A line from the wrist to the
Uh-huh.
palm. Oh.
You see that line now?
Yeah. How is this possible? How?
Reiki.
That's
You know what?
yeah.
I got the same reaction. Again, I'm a skeptic. I
Yeah.
thought I was telling myself that I was the cool kid. I shouldn't believe in these things. That was my self 6 years ago. But then,
Mhm.
just like you, continuously, and you know what? In an everyday basis, continuously, it is an everyday miracle that I experience. Not just because of what I'm doing, how I'm going deeper every day through my meditation, through deeper practice of Reiki, through reading tarot, but it's a continuous miracle that I experience because every single time I am blessed to meet many people who are more than willing to really also learn,
Mm-hmm.
unlearn and relearn many things about life, and most especially about ourselves. And that's my goal as a teacher, to help you discover who you truly are. And just like
Yeah.
how the guru is, to remove the darkness from everybody, because that's the first thing I did. I removed my own darkness. I removed many experiences that resonates hate, anger, doubt, and
Yeah.
fear. I started to go inward first. And when I started noticing a huge difference, and I'm really starting to see that, hey, I mean, coming from someone who's not mindful at all, then I can have an opportunity to help. That really gave me a huge motivation to continuously find anything and everything that can help me. And once it works, my goal is to always share it. And that's why I always have very meaningful contents in YouTube. It's really about focusing on how my own personal experience, because this is the way I see it. Sometimes when we give advices, it's easy to say, you know what, I've read this book, I've watched this movie, this inspirational movie, and maybe someday somehow this can also work. Maybe this can be the fairy tale that we're all dreaming about. But we
Yeah.
need real life experiences. We When we
True.
give advices, we would want an assurance that this is something that may have worked before, that someone's life has already changed because of this. And then it's not a fairy tale. It's real. It's a real life experience. And so that's what I've been trying to advocate, to not be afraid to go through no matter how life unfolds. It's just the openness and the readiness for you to really learn from anything and everything that you go through and use that as a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
There are many opportunities, most especially in my personal experiences, that you're always going to be left with two decisions. Are you going to choose love, or are you going to choose anger, hate, jealousy, envy? In the end, we've known how it feels every time we don't choose love.
Mm-hmm.
If you want something new, if we want a new outcome, especially a new perspective, it's always about how we're going to be willing to do something new, to do what we feel is, well, may not necessarily be an easy thing to do, but it's just right. You know how it is. When we always choose love, we can never go wrong with it, one way or another. Love will
That's true.
always find its magic and miracle to always win.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. And I guess it's just a message for everybody else, like in relation to your message for next year, that it's all about openness as well. So that's, and that can also help us like manifest whatever it is that we want to manifest for next year as well. So I like how you also said that it was like you're not like you're a cool kid, you're not supposed to get into like tarot card reading, Reiki, divination, and all of that. But
Energy.
yeah, but the thing is, it's so interesting because I'm seeing so many people who have crystals, who do have their own tarot cards as well. So I think you're like underselling yourself, my friend, when it comes to to not being a cool kid. Because the fact that you know so much about it and you like insisted went through this as well, I think it's just a really cool thing that you did your own thing. And now that you're helping other people trying to heal and improve their lives, I think it's just a fantastic way to um to just go on with your life, to go on with your life and just to keep inspiring people. So thank you so much. Thank you for all of the insight that you've given us. For all of the monsters who are maybe still skeptical about this whole thing, once again, this is all in terms of the interpretation of the master, the tarot card reader, and in general, it's all for good fun as well. And I had so much fun learning about tarot card reading and also for Reiki and that distance healing thing. I will get back to you tomorrow, Marky, when it comes to like my lower back pain. If it's still there, I will message you. Be like,
Definitely.
it's still there. Well, for all of the monsters who are tuned in as well, how can they find you? You are somewhat like the millennial manghuhula, apparently. So you have a YouTube. We have YouTube
Yes.
videos as well, and how you're doing tarot cards every readings every week. So how
Yes.
can they find you? How can they consult with you?
All right. So, everybody, and thank you so much again for having me here and for the great opportunity. Thank you again, Nikki, of course, heard on Thursdays. But
Mhm.
of course, should you find this opportunity not just interesting, but really, if this episode for tonight really hits the spot, and I know it's something that we are a little skeptic about, but just like you, I was in the same place as well. Should you be interested in knowing more, I also have free sessions that I always have every Tuesday night.
Mhm.
You can find me in my YouTube channel. It's Reiki with Marky. And then every Tuesday night, I provide free tarot readings for everybody. Every Sundays, I provide I provide the energy for the week as well. So every time that you visit our channel, it's always about learning about how you're going to discover yourself and how you're going to take charge of your future. And of course, if you're also interested, sometimes there will be people who are be going to be very ready to take on something new, something different, and it's really the
Yeah.
spiritual path. I'm also ready to teach for those who are willing to learn. You can also reach out in my Instagram account. It's at Everyday Reiki with Marky. Send me a message, and I'll be happy to assist you.
There you have it. Before we go, actually, somebody commented over on YouTube. They're asking, they were working for 34 years, but now they lost their jobs. They were fired. So, can you pull a card to see the future of their rehiring? Or maybe can you help them direct what fields they could partake in, what they should focus on? Yes, let's
Surely.
help Spring. Spring, we
Okay.
got you.
Okay, so let's see what's in store in terms of. Oh, I know. If there is really one good thing about spring, right? There is really one good measure. I mean, one good thing to really measure here is it's really the decisiveness in terms of not just what is profitable. Talk about what really is resonating your passion. What is effortless for you? What is something that you can do that even we are gonna go through sleepless nights, a little busy here and there, but still again you can never complain. Anything and everything that's natural for you, that's the key for you to understand. And I know there's always so much fear that goes around it because maybe you're thinking of going freelance, and I can feel your energy. That's the thing. It's anything and everything that feels very natural for you. Effortless. That's the key. Because I know somehow the energy that you may be processing right now is limited because of the fear and the doubt. Let go
Mm.
of fear, let go of doubt, and do not be afraid to feel comfortable with your own skin. You'll be surprised. Come February, you'll find the opportunity because I know you've been waiting for this sign, and you've been having this thought lingering. Do I dive in? Do I go for it? February, second week of February, you will have the right courage and the right amount. When talking about of investment, yes, you will have the right push, right amount of money for you to go for investments. It will do very good for you. You'll be surprised. All you need to let go of is the doubt and fear. Think of freelance. That's the key.
Ooh, go for it, Spring. You got this. You got this. We're rooting for you. So thank you so much, Marky, for gracing us with your presence tonight on Heard on Thursdays. For all the monsters who have tuned in, I was speaking to intuitive tarot card reader Marky Mendoza, who's also a Reiki master. So go ahead and hit him up on his socials if you guys want to consult, if you guys want to be a master of your own in terms of Reiki or even tarot card reading. So super fun to have you. Maybe again next year, end of the year, we'll do this again. Or 6 months, baka parang session lang.
Yeah.
Things change. Things change. Who knows, right? Well, thank you so much. This is where we end you guys with Heard on Thursdays. For those who are tuned in on air, on the radio, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, it's has been Nikki Porter for Heard on Thursdays. Good night. Have an awesome new year. And that's it. Keep it locked only here on The Monster.